Welcome back, everybody. In this video, I'm obviously back in the shop working on a project that I meant to start in the spring so that I could use it all summer, and that's this little guy over here. So this little contraption is called the Baytech. It's electric. It goes on the front of wheelchairs. It's usually got up there's the bar that clamps onto your chair or whatever, and then it just acts as a third wheel, so it picks up the caster wheels. It's got a little hand throttle, brakes, all that, and you clip in your chair to the back of it. So we acquired this while filming a couple of years ago, and it actually only worked for about a few minutes while my buddy Christian was trying to come up with something for the TV show, and it kind of just bricked the electrical, so it had to get sent away, fixed up. Anyways, I got it back. It's all dusty. It's been sitting for a long time, obviously, but I want to do something where it's just a platform. So I don't have to hook into the chair, don't have to fiddle with that. It's just a platform. If someone else wants to hop on and stand on it, they can do that. So yeah, basically, well, Christian already made this little gooseneck piece that slides in there, so I'm going to be building off of that. Just do a little square platform. Oh, I found these wheels in the shed. Not sure what they're from, but I think I'm going to use them for the back. I may in the future upgrade to some taller, more like mountain bike style wheels, but this will at least get me going for the street so I can rip it around or whatever, go down the driveway if I need to. So yeah, I don't really have a plan. Like I said, just going to make a square platform big enough to pull my chair onto. These tires are going to be at the back so that a lot of my weight is transferred onto the front because it's going to be front wheel drive, obviously. And yeah, that way I got traction to go up hills. So I'm going to take some measurements and I'll have to go down to the metal store and pick up some metal and we'll get building. All right, let's get this sucker pulled out where I can work on it. There, you can get a bit better idea of what's going on. So it's got those little kickstand wheels that once I get it built, I'm going to try and remove those because those won't be necessary. It's just to hold it up when you unhook from your chair. There's a little pre-built piece, so I'll cut the bottom off of it. Slides into there. A couple other things, there's some big weights on the front because usually if it's hooked to the front of your chair, there's not a lot of weight on the front, so that's for traction. I can take that off. I think it does something like 35 kilometers an hour, so it's not the fastest, but it's certainly not slow, so who knows, maybe we can tune her up, get it going a little quicker. But yeah, it would just be fun for zipping around town. Yeah, whatever, you could go get groceries with it. Like I said, if I put bigger tires on the back, I can use it to get up top and just easily get around, so should be fun when it's done. But now that it's out here, gonna kind of get a footprint, how much metal I need, and hopefully only make one trip down to the metal shop. All right, went and picked up some steel, well, and aluminum in the old truck. Just started to rain with very large raindrops. So, oh, and I should mention, I'd love to build this whole thing out of aluminum to keep it light, but I have yet to learn how to weld aluminum, and I don't feel like doing it on this project. I still got to get some different gas and all that stuff. So the frame, well, the main bit is going to be made out of steel. That's 1/2 inch by 2 inch. So I'm going to run on edge. And then this is just the diamond plate aluminum that I'll probably use for the top. So get this unloaded in the shop and we can start some cutting. All right, so the first thing I have to decide is how high I want the platform to be off the ground. And it's tricky because for riding it, I want it to be fairly high off the ground so it doesn't get high centered. But for being able to get on and off of it, there's obviously gonna be a ledge at the back. I don't want that too far. So since I'm using these little wheels, I don't know how big they are. I can find out in a hurry. Using this measuring device, they are approximately, I don't know what you'd call that, 7.5 inches though. So in theory, if we mount the main frame, or the main frame is half of these off the ground, this mounts right at the midsection on the frame, and that works out. That'll give us like, whatever, 3 inches of ground clearance. And then in the future, if I want to do a bigger tire, I can't just mount it there because then it would angle it way forward and that wouldn't work. And the back would be like a foot off the ground, which wouldn't make sense. So I'll just make vertical pieces and mount the other bigger tires and wheels wherever I want. So for now, gonna get an exact measurement on this to center, and then I can cut that vertical piece at that height, because our 1/2 inch by 2 inch is gonna come off of that and around. All right, since it's an oddball shape, it wouldn't fit in the chop saw, so use the little bandsaw, which means it's not perfect, but we don't really need it to be. All we really need is for the pieces that I weld on to be perfect, so good enough. Oops, since this design slides in and I'm going to be attaching up here, I'm hoping I can run some support bars, maybe some tube from here. If I want to get fancy, I can put a bend in it and run it maybe halfway back, but if not, I can kind of gusset it from here down and that'll catch it, 6 or 8 inches back. So that is a problem for future me. For now, just gonna get the square cut, gonna do miter cuts on the corners, which means 45, so there's no open ends. And then I can get that all trued up, squared up, and welded. And then we can decide from there if I think it's gonna be strong enough. So let's do some cutting. All right, well, I got all the pieces cut, which is super easy by myself. No hassle at all, wasn't frustrated even for a second. So that's good. I guess I can get the short pieces welded onto the front little gooseneck piece, and then we can build off of that. Yeah, that's a good plan. So now, since the welding table isn't big enough, I think I'm just gonna switch to the floor because it is about as flat as you can get. So, yeah, I'll build the rest of the frame down there. And then in theory, big U shape should slide in and meet up with these perfectly, in theory. Now, I think I'm gonna lift this frame up there carefully without breaking the tacks. And I can do a little cross measuring, make sure it's perfect, and I can get it all welded up. All right, got myself a U. So now, gotta attach this U to that front gooseneck piece. All right, so it's obviously hanging off the table, so I'm just gonna try and hold it up there and do it by hand, which the results will probably look like I did that, but that's all right. So around here, we go for good enough. There's the main idea. So then I'll just get everything, make sure it's square, and finish welding. Well, after navigating that thing's many awkward angles, I hope it's still square. And it is square enough for me. All right, so I got it slotted in there. Not very streamlined looking, but that's okay. I could have angled those front corners a little bit, but my caster's got to go kind of somewhere there. Yeah, I definitely could have knocked that corner off, but Yeah, that's just more work. So proof of concept. So right now you can see it's sitting off the ground. So grab a wheel and tire technically. And it's gonna mount somewhere there. So yeah, I'll have to drill into the frame there, and then I want it to be like capture both sides, dual shear. So I'm gonna do some flat bar from the outside of the frame, bend it around and capture the outside of the bolt too, so it kind of looks like that, so that it's not twisting as much. I know that won't be super strong on the outside, but better than nothing. So gonna drill a hole kind of as close to comfortable to the back, to the cross piece as possible, so I can keep my weight in front like I mentioned before, but still be able to get a nut on and whatnot. So I also am going to have to come up with some sort of spacer here, because the bearing actually sits inside the tire, and on this side you've got the valve there. So gonna have to shim it out a bit on both sides. So yeah, hole somewhere there. Something like that. It should work good. Got some holes drilled. Oh, also I added a centerpiece for more strength this way. I realized that I should have done 2-inch square tube for the front piece and then 1/2 inch coming off, because there's a lot of twisting there. So hopefully that makes up for some of it. I'll probably do a little gusset in there also after I figure out where my feet go. But yeah, the wheels. So like I said earlier, the bearing surface sits inside the outside of the tire, so we have to shim that out a little bit. So I'll have to make something either out of steel or plastic, nylon, something to space that out a little bit. I'll try and figure out what that amount is. Maybe I have to put it on the lathe, because it can only catch this surface. It can't be big and catch all this, because the middle is the only thing that spins, which it is a few thousandths proud of the rest of the bearing, so it can be a bit bigger, but ideally it matches that diameter of this inside ring. Well, got pretty lucky in the old scrap drawer. Found this piece of nylon or something. The hole is too small in the middle, but the outside diameter is almost perfect, so I'm just gonna open the middle up to 1/2 inch, and this will be perfect because A, it's nice and slick material and it won't rust. So that's a win, and I can get 2 out of this. All right, so it's a day or 2 later. I ended up making 4 of these little spacer chingaderas on the lathe, drilled out the middle, cut them to appropriate widths. So again, by the way, I don't know if I showed this, got this in place. That's to space the wheel out right there so it doesn't rub. And then next step is going to be making the outside attachment. I think I'm going to run some little stubs off the back here so I can run flat bar angle there, catch the outside of the bolt to support that, and then wrap around and tie into the little stub piece here. And that'll make that super strong, because there's not a ton of strength in this 1/2 inch. So time to cut up some flat bar. I think I'll probably cut those little stub pieces on, get those welded on, and then I can cut a piece of flat bar, bend it around the tires, and try to perfectly drill the hole right where the axle is to make it track straight. That's gonna be tough. All right, got a piece cut, 2-inch flat bar. I don't know the thickness. The old Princess Auto brake. I've only used this just testing it out once, so this will be the first actual test. So the first bend is a 90 degree for the back, and we'll just kind of build our way forward. So it's gotta be perfectly square-ish. Something like that. Go for the gusto. There you go. 90-degree bend. So I kind of held these up against the other axle holes the best I could. Kind of drew through, so hopefully these will be good. Drill them out, and then I can make the other bend. All right, so I know it's only been a second for you, but it's been like 5 minutes, maybe 10, an hour and a half tops. Yeah, it wasn't hard at all. Getting these bent up and the right angle. This is actually a lot more crucial than I thought, because this hole here and where this is positioned technically is your alignment. So it affects your camber and your toe in. Camber I'm not as worried about, especially if it's cambered out a little bit, but the toe in would mean that these tires would be scrubbing the whole time, so definitely want those to be parallel. So messed around, clamped it in place, got all my spacers in there, ended up shimming it out an extra washer that you can't see, and right now it's just tacked in place. So this obviously isn't the axle, it's just a 1/2-inch bolt, but it seems to go around. I just eyeballed as far as the toe in, because that's as good as anything. The gap between the front and the back of the tire there. So I'm ready to do the other side, I guess, and then I can fully weld that. And then that's basically gonna be it for the main frame. I might try and do a little gusset down there because I'm still nervous about the flex here. Worst case, I can go from like up at the handlebars and do some big bends around and catch back here with some 1-inch tube or something like that, but that's definitely involved, and if I don't have to, it'd be good. But I also know that I beat on my equipment and I'm not easy on it, so might be something to look into in the future. Try again. So I was almost good with the toe in, but it was just tacked and it was a little off, so might as well do it now. That's what it looks like. Captures both sides. Gap is roughly the same. Tire goes around, which is a bonus. They're a little wobbly, which I'm a little worried about at high speed. But I think this thing only tops out at like 32 kilometers an hour right now. I'd like that to be more like 50. So we'll see if I can find out how to do some tuning on the old motor and jack that up. But for now, this is looking good. So I think, well, once I get the wheel off and all this totally welded, the next step is going to be the aluminum, whatever it's called, the diamond plate aluminum, cut that to fit on the top. All right, got it all set up. Nice little fence to run along in my dad's wood area where there's no metal allowed, but does aluminum really count as metal? Psh, I don't think so. One cut done. As you can see, does a pretty good job. So now, the longer cut, I guess. All right, so the piece fits okay. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of a bit of a curve, so it's gonna take a little trimming at the end there. But also I decided, well, I tested it out on here, came up, and my foot plate there just fits under here. My feet go to the side, so that's kind of cool. I was checking for putting a little gusset here to support this twisting, but I'm gonna kind of compromise and put one there. So it's not gonna be as good, but it will definitely help with not twisting this off and bending this or ripping this weld. So I'm gonna do that. But then that means I'm gonna have to slice the aluminum to fit over top. So then that means I'm gonna have to build little supports here or run some cross pieces or something. So yeah, these little projects, I tell you, they can sometimes take a lot, especially when you're trying to make things perfectly, you know, level or square or plumb or all those things, and lining up the tire brackets, all that stuff. It takes a lot of time. Like, I'm on day 2 and probably hour like 5 or 6 of this. I don't want to admit, but yeah. Anyways, gonna get this little gusset piece welded in there and then do some more cutting on this guy. And yeah, like I said, go find some little, even tabs or angle iron along there, something. But I also don't want to make it too heavy because it's already getting up there, and the more weight I add, the slower it goes. So don't want to do that too much. All right, so I found some pieces out back. This chunk, I think, is actually the crossbar from this table that I hacked out so I can roll under it. So just super thin. I can add that here for the aluminum to be able to sit on. And then I think some more used stuff. I think this is from like a bed frame or something. I think I'm gonna add a couple little crossbars here because that's quite a span for my caster wheels, and they sit like right in the middle. So there's a bit of bowing there that'll get rid of that. And then I'm gonna have to notch the aluminum, like I said, all the way down there around that, and also around this piece here. So you can expect that not to be perfect, but yeah, let's get to gusseting and supporting and stuff. All right, so aside from having to make about 10 fixes, I pretty much nailed it first time. So you can see you got the notches around all that junk. Corners are, I mean, good enough. Down the edge, the cross supports in there. So probably gonna put down some little one side sticky foam, weather edging, or weather stripping, something like that, just to prevent the rattles, because obviously I'm going to screw it down, but this type of plate really likes to rattle, especially if any of those screws come a little loose. So going to do that, and I mean, then we're looking pretty good. Alright, there's the finished product. So the foam ended up being double-sided sticky. So because of that, got away with doing less screws. That is not going anywhere. Tires are on. Just enough clearance. So we'll plug it into the machine, wherever that is, over there. See if it works. Well, front is definitely sitting lower. Looks good though.
Not massively lower, some, but not crazy.
But I think we can adjust that there. Well, it's probably almost an inch, 3/4 of an inch lower in the front. But we should be able to pick that up with that adjustment there.
5 1/4 to the top.
Oh, to the top, yeah.
About 4 3 7/8.
So over an inch. Makes sense? Well, that'll be good. Yeah, because that's getting a little dangerously low for catching stuff. All right, we'll stand somewhere. Yeah, I mean, there's no flex like front to back. Oh yeah, obviously lots there, but yeah. Okay, so next step is trying to clamp that in. Might need a shim on the other side, and then it squeezes together, which will hopefully stop the, well, stop all the movement, hopefully. But yeah, let's try and lift that front. Okay, so we were able to pick the front up by moving those little slotted bits. So it's sitting level, actually a tiny bit higher in the front. Got rid of the wiggle in there by tightening it with just the one shim. So I think it's ready for a test drive. Push scooter test. Ooh, is it gonna fit? Ooh. Yep. So far so good. It doesn't appear to be flexing like front to back. It's on low speed. Alright, turn that puppy up. There's a rabbit on your right thumb or something. Another time, yeah. Oh, that was the horn. The other button. There you go. Uh-oh. It's gonna get hit by a car. Wipe out first few minutes, that'd be pretty. Got the lean. How's the brakes work? Pretty good? Remember, they're all front. They work.
Don't crash yourself. Holy crap.
Not a ton of room between my hand rims and the tires. Got to 30. Yeah. Yeah, so I like that the foot plate hooks in under there, because then I can't flip back, and if I hit the brakes, it goes against that vertical gusset that I put in there. So got to 30. And I think it only maxes out at 32. So in that amount of time, that's...
Oh, it's got power.
Yeah. Sweet. Update. It's a few days later, and as you can see, the beast behind me here, I've now ridden it home twice, and home is about 10 kilometers away from the shop. It's majority, like 90% downhill on the way there. So I was able to obviously easily make it there, and I did make it all the way back, which is same thing, 90% uphill. and had around 20% battery left. So pretty good considering all the extra weight that it was never meant for. But yeah, I think it's gonna be fun, especially in summer, just ripping around when you don't want to drive your car. Beach cruiser. But that's gonna do it for this video. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, like, all that stuff. Much appreciated, and we'll see you on the next one.